Hello aspirants, welcome back to the lecture on Africa. So previously we had covered the deserts of Africa and now we will be entering into the rivers and lakes. Now I had explained to you in the part 1 that Africa is a continent of plateaus. It is full of plateaus. Why? Because it has a lot of cratons. It is tectonically very stable. The only change that is going on in Africa is that a divergent plate boundary is happening in the East African Rift Valley. Now, with that information that Africa is a continent of plateaus, let us begin. Rivers and lakes, a plateau continent. Rivers flow gently inland, violently near the coast. Why? This is a plateau. River originates somewhere here, flowing, and near the coast falls. So there are rapids, there are different kinds of waterfalls that are happening near the coast or after the river crosses the length and breadth of a plateau. So first we have the Nile River. So the Nile has two rivers previously forming the Nile. One is the White Nile, one is the Blue Nile. So the White Nile originates from Lake Victoria, somewhere here, and Blue Nile from Lake Tana, somewhere here. So Lake Victoria is in the country of Uganda, and Lake Tana is in the country of Ethiopia. Both of them meet and form the Nile at Khartoum in Sudan, and then it goes the length and breadth of Sudan, Egypt, and finally falls into the Mediterranean Sea near the city of Alexandria in Egypt. So White Nile originates from Lake Victoria. Blue Nile from Ethiopian highlands. How do you not confuse this? You see, Queen Victoria of England was a racially white lady. So the White Nile originates from Lake Victoria. Remember this, it's just a way to remember. Nothing wrong in that. While the Blue Nile is what remains from the Ethiopian highlands. Next important river which we have is the Congo River. Why is this river important? Look at this map of the Congo River. What do you see? The Congo River is dividing the equator, is cutting the equator twice. This is the world's only major river to do so. Cuts the equator twice. Which river? The Congo River. And why does it flow in such a weird manner? It does so because there is a plateau here. So it runs across or around the plateau and then falls somewhere here. And this is rapids near the mouth due to plateau edge. Again, this is origin is Central African highlands. Next is the Niger River. Now, Niger River is famous because of completely different reasons. It is a very unique river. Why? Because Niger River originates here, somewhere in the Sierra Leone. And instead of falling right here, or even here, it decides to travel the entire length and breadth of West Africa. And finally, it is flowing down almost in the same region over here in Nigeria. So initially flows inland due to a plateau slope. Obviously, a river does not think that much. There is a plateau slope, it goes over there and then turns southeast to reach the sea. So it drains into the Gulf of Guinea. Next important is the Zambezi River. Now Zambezi River is famous because it is Victoria Falls, and this is where I want you to see the difference between the Indian rivers and the African rivers, because we can more associate ourselves with Indian rivers, that there are mountains. Once a river starts from a mountain, it goes through very violent phase, extremely rapids and waterfalls and everything, and then it gets into the plains and it is silence. Not in the case of African rivers, because it's a plateau country. Once it is flowing on top of the plateau, it is all quiet, nothing is happening. But once the plateau starts ending and it starts falling, the river starts falling, there are rapids, there are falls like the Victoria Falls. Zambezi River starts here. After traveling through all of these countries, This is where the Victoria Falls is, on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe. So far off, almost halfway its entire length before it drains into the Mozambique Channel. Next is we are entering into lakes. So when we are studying lakes, there are two types of lakes in Africa. One is the tectonic or rift valley lakes, and the another is the basin or residual lakes. So tectonic or rift valley lakes is what we had covered while we were studying the East African Rift Valley. Now we are studying just two important lakes, not much. One is the Lake Victoria, where the White Nile originates from. So Lake Victoria is the largest lake of Africa by area. Now it is between the two rift branches, yes, and it is shared by the countries of Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. One way to remember it is KUT, KUT, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. So these three countries share Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria has an open drainage. It is an exotic basin, and the how White Nile comes out of it is that it is just like a jug, and the water that spills out forms the Nile. It is somewhat like that. So the rivers, some or the waterfalls, or all amount, or it is different kinds of water just flows into the Lake Victoria, and once it crosses the rim, the remaining water goes in as the White Nile. It lies on the East African plateau. Land slopes northward like this. That's why it forms the Nile, which goes north. Then water level rises until it spills out, naturally forming White Nile. Next is Lake Chad. This is also an endorheic basin. Is the Lake Chad. The problem is that it is also a dying lake. Now UPSC has has a strong attachment with the lakes which are dying. So the main reason is that rainfall varies a lot, and because of climate change, there are very few rainfall occurrences that are happening in the area. So this is the what is happening with Lake Chad. You see, in 1963, Lake Chad was huge, very wide, spread across a lot of area. Today, it has almost evaporated in its entire length, and this image is from 25 years back, 2001. So we do not know what is going on currently in Lake Chad, but of course there has to be some conservation measures that are going on. That's why it is important for you to know Lake Chad, because UPSC has asked a question about Aral Sea. That is another dead sea, that is water body that is dying because of human or anthropogenic activities. We'll be studying this in Central Asia. Currently, which of the following have shrunk immensely or dried up in the recent past due to human activities? In 2018, UPSC asked this question. Answer. Why don't you answer? And I will tell you the answer later on to this. So now we are getting into the physiographic divisions of Africa. So we have covered Africa in its entirety almost. We have covered the lakes, we have covered the rivers, we have covered the deserts, we have covered tectonic boundaries. Now we sum up together. So Africa is a plateau continent. Mountains and plains are secondary. Plateaus are what dominate. So these are, over here I've tried to get in as many plateaus as possible. The important ones which you should know is Ethiopian plateau. Why? Because it is the source of the Blue Nile. Next is the East African plateau. It is somewhere here. Sorry, it has to be somewhere here around. That will be the East African plateau. Then there is the Katanga plateau. It is present around this region or this region. Bai plateau is over here, yes. So Fort Jalon plateau is over here, Niger River, and the Bai plateau over here. Also, another important thing is High Veld and Drakensberg. Be careful about these. So this is kind of important. So remember Drakensberg, that is another kind of plateau in Africa. There are a few mountains in Africa, not much. Just the Atlas Mountains on the north, and this is also because of some collisions that are happening. Young fold mountains are present over here. Drakensberg Mountain, as I had mentioned before. Also, I would like you to know about another river which I have missed, and my apologies for that, is the Limpopo River. Now, Limpopo River is a river that cuts Tropic of Capricorn twice. What river is this? Limpopo River. It cuts Africa, Tropic of Capricorn twice. So we had the Congo River cutting the equator twice, and we have the Limpopo River cutting the Tropic of Capricorn twice. Now, so we have the African plate, and there are isolated peaks like the Kilimanjaro and not linear ranges like Himalayas. You know this because in divergent plates, once a volcano is formed, it is mostly around a plateau, and in a convergent plate boundary, it is always a series of arcs that are formed. Now we are entering into the gulfs and channels. So, first of all, over here we have the Suez Canal, very important canal present over here, and we have two choke points, that is Bab-el-Mandeb Strait and the Gulf of Aden. Next important gulf is the Gulf of Guinea. Why is it important? This is where the river Niger falls into. Gulf of Aqaba, it is another branch of the Red Sea, and this is the one area where Israel and Jordan can they have a port there. They have ports over here. Finally, the channel which is important is the Mozambique Channel next to Madagascar and the country of Mozambique. Now we study the Strait of Gibraltar. So why is Gibraltar important? You see, the problem with Gibraltar is that it is also, being a part of Europe, it is still not pardoned of colonization. The city of Gibraltar is an overseas territory of the United Kingdom. But if UPSC asks you this question, then the Strait of Gibraltar lies between which countries? The answer is Spain and Morocco. That does not change. The only thing that is that the city of Gibraltar is under UK, and this is international waters, so no one can control the entire strait. They have different dealings for that. Now, I want you to understand choke points, the maritime choke points. So, why are the maritime choke points important? Because of this. You see, choke points are those points on the planet where if you block that point, then most of the world trade comes to a halt. Everything that is happening today in the world is because of these choke points. The entire trade takes place in these choke points. In Africa, I am studying choke points because 4 out of the 8 are present in or around Africa. There is a Cape of Good Hope. This is also a choke point. Then there is a Bab-el-Mandeb here. Then Gulf of Aqaba and Suez Canal here, and Strait of Gibraltar over here. So Africa is surrounded by choke points. That's why in international treaties, international affairs, choke points are so important that if something goes wrong in the choke points, then we always, entire world scrambles to correct it. So that's why these are also the regions where the maximum amount of piracy activities takes place. In all of these regions, you see, this is full. This region is extremely important. So a lot of ships travel through this region, and this is almost the energy entrance of the world, or most of the energy supplies of the world goes from these regions. So choke points are extremely vulnerable to piracy. Now the last portion is capes. So we have the Cape of Good Hope and the Cape Agulhas over here. What is a cape? Cape is nothing but land jutting into the ocean. So whenever you have a land that is just jutting into the ocean, like Cape Guar the Full, let me point it out here. Guar the Full. This is a piece of land that is jutting into the ocean, just entering the ocean. That is called a cape. But when we have a piece of ocean jutting into the land, that is called a bay. So Cape of Good Hope and Cape Agulhas is very important. Cape of Good Hope is a very interesting history behind it. Now, just a few things about political geography. This is the most highest number of landlocked countries in any continent is present in Africa. That's all you need to remember. Don't have to remember the names of those countries. Just remember highest number of landlocked countries are present in Africa. Secondly, a group of countries that is around the Horn of Africa. Now, why Horn of Africa is important? Again, choke point. Currently, in 2026, a lot of different wars and different disturbances are taking place throughout the world. That's why these flashpoints is something which you must know. Choke points are extremely important flashpoints as well. If any country thinks that, okay, I will block this choke point, it will result into severe disturbances throughout the world. So it is important for you to know countries around the choke points as well. Horn of Africa I have focused on because it is confusing. Horn of Africa. Countries that are there are Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti. Where are these countries? Somalia. There is also Somaliland. This is also coming in the news. Be very careful. Somalia, Somaliland, Djibouti, Eritrea is over here. And in part of Asia, we have Yemen and Oman. So remember these countries. What is around Suez Canal? Just two or maximum three countries. You can say Egypt, Israel. Israel is also far away, and Saudi Arabia. Why? Because Jordan also because of the presence of Gulf of Aqaba over here. So remember the countries surrounding the choke points as well. Okay, and that brings us to the end of Africa, and we will be next studying South America. Long and wild, you will know why. Thank you for joining, guys, and next we'll be covering South America soon. Thank you.